Harry Potter. Harry never asked to be famous. He didn't earn it. He just got hit with a curse meant to kill him and somehow walked away with a scar and a target on his back. For the rest of his life, people expected him to be a savior because he survived a murder attempt he doesn't even remember. By the time he shows up at Hogwarts, he's not some prodigy or golden child. He's a kid who's never been hugged properly, owns one pair of socks, and thinks magic sounds fake. But every year, something tries to kill him, and every year he drags himself back, bruised, stubborn, and slightly more prepared. He breaks rules, he breaks wands, he breaks into government buildings, and when no adult wants to say Voldemort's name, Harry screams it at full volume. He says the name because silence helps no one, and he's tired of watching cowards whisper while others get hurt. He watches people die, he buries friends, he loses the only family he has left, and somehow he keeps showing up, not to be a hero, but to stop the bleeding before it gets worse. That's what makes him dangerous. Not the prophecy, not the wand, just the fact that when everything burns down, Harry keeps walking toward the fire. Hermione Granger. Hermione didn't need a prophecy to be important because all she needed was a library card, a working brain, and the patience to drag two reckless boys through 7 years of magical nonsense. She wasn't born into magic, but by the 3rd year, she was bending time to get to more classes. Not parties, classes. She raised her hand so often it might as well have had its own desk. She also didn't freeze when it got serious. She stepped up like the test was made for her. She brewed polyjuice potions in a bathroom and researched Horcruxes before anyone else could spell it. Revolution started one for house elves, while everyone else was worrying about exams. People called her a know-it-all, but they always listened when it mattered. Troll attacks, secret chambers, Death Eaters, Hermione showed up with a plan and a backup plan, plus an insult for whoever doubted her. Hermione never waited to be chosen because she always showed up prepared, stayed alert, and made sure no one got left behind. She wasn't the loudest in the room, but when things started falling apart, everyone looked to her. And when the others caught up, she'd already solved the puzzle, packed a bag, and found the safest way forward. Ron Weasley. Ron Weasley grew up with a ghoul in the attic, 6 siblings louder than him, and a closet full of clothes that had already survived 3 owners. And after the time he got to Hogwarts, the only thing that was truly his was a rat with trust issues and a talent for betrayal. He survived chess matches that could kill you, forests that whisper back, and spiders the size of minivans, all before puberty. He faced down Death Eaters, broke into Gringotts, and helped destroy pieces of a Dark Lord's soul, and somehow still found time to lose his temper, eat 4 servings at dinner, and complain about exams like a normal teenager. Ron acted fearless, but he was really afraid all the time. He thought he wasn't enough, that he'd be left behind, or that he'd always be second best. But he still stood up, still cracked jokes in the middle of chaos, still stormed out, cooled off, and came back swinging. His wand shook sometimes, but it never stayed down. He is the human reminder that friendship is messy, love is loud, and loyalty doesn't need a spotlight. Ron didn't care about glory. Instead, he cared about the people, and he caught them when they fell. Without him, Harry might have saved the world, but he wouldn't have survived it. Albus Dumbledore. Albus Dumbledore is what happens when you give a wizard too much power, too many secrets, and exactly one good robe. He's the headmaster of Hogwarts, the most powerful wizard alive, and yet he somehow carries himself like a gentle grandfather who might forget your name, but never your deepest trauma. He talks like he's telling a bedtime story, even when the world's on fire. There's always a twinkle in his eye, and a plan behind his silence. Dumbledore would walk into a room like the ending's already been written. He's just here to turn the page. And if someone gets crushed on the board, he'll be sorry about it, but only after the checkmate. He's brilliant, wise, and deeply flawed. His past includes dark magic, an obsession with power, and one friendship that almost broke the entire wizarding world. He tries to make up for it by protecting Harry, guiding students, and occasionally assigning life-threatening homework. He rarely raises his voice, but when he does, the room listens, and backs up, fast. He knows everything going on behind the curtain, mostly because he helped hang it and occasionally sets it on fire. Severus Snape. Severus Snape walks into the story looking like a vampire who teaches chemistry and somehow turns out to be one of the most complicated people in the whole series. He's the potions master at Hogwarts, greasy hair, deadpan voice, and a talent for making children cry during quizzes. From day one, he treats Harry like a public enemy, but there's always something else lurking under the scowl, something heavier than just pettiness. Snape isn't kind, and he's not fair, but he's loyal in the most painful way possible. Everything he does, the spying, the double-crossing, the brutal discipline, it all comes from one thing: a broken heart that never really stopped bleeding. He was in love with Lily Potter, watched her marry his school bully, watched her die, and then made it his mission to protect her son, even if he had to insult him while doing it. Because grief doesn't always come with good manners. Snape risks his life for years, plays both sides of a war, and becomes the kind of hero no one claps for. By the time you understand him, he's already bleeding out on the floor. He doesn't wear bravery on his sleeve, he buries it under layers of bitterness, sarcasm, and robes that probably haven't seen daylight in a decade. Lord Voldemort. Voldemort is what you get when a gifted child skips therapy and majors in murder. Born as Tom Riddle, he starts out smart, charming, and terrifying in a way that doesn't raise alarms until things start dying. He's an orphan who hates his name, his parents, and anyone with a pulse that reminds him he's human. So he fixes that by cutting his soul into pieces, like it's a weekend craft project. Power wasn't enough for him. He wanted to outlive death, erase weakness, and rewrite what it meant to be human. No death, rivals, and no nose, apparently. Voldemort isn't the kind of villain who hides in the shadows. He becomes a full-blown magical dictator with a snake for a sidekick and a resume that includes genocide, mind control, and snake-based murder speeches. Fear rarely touches him, except when it comes to love, humility, or a teenage boy with an unusually lucky streak. And that's the irony. For all his strength, he can't understand people who don't care about power, which is exactly how they beat him. By the end, he's less a man and more a warning label. Not don't do dark magic, more like don't turn yourself into a soul-chunking lizard wizard and expect a happy ending. Voldemort wanted to live forever. What he got was a final scream, a puff of ash, and 0 people crying at his funeral. Draco Malfoy. Draco Malfoy looks like he was born in a mansion and raised by a thesaurus full of insults. From the moment he shows up, he's sneering at Harry, calling Hermione names, and making Ron feel like a poor kid on a field trip. He's pureblood, proud of it, and acts like Hogwarts is his family's vacation home. But underneath all the arrogance is someone who's completely out of his depth. He talks big, walks around with goons, and brags like he's prepping for a reality show. But when the pressure builds, Draco folds fast. He's thrown into the middle of a war he doesn't understand and told to carry out acts that would shake grown men. He's not evil, but he's scared of disappointing his parents, of looking weak, of being expected to murder someone while still figuring out how to pass potions. He starts loud, smug, and sure of himself until the weight of those choices turns on him. He starts realizing the side he's on might not win. Worse, it might not deserve to. There's no redemption arc, just a boy who saw too much, stayed too long, and left with more regrets than victories. Draco Malfoy isn't the villain he thought he'd be. Instead, he's just a scared kid with a fancy name, bad friends, and too many adults using him as a chess piece. Luna Lovegood. Luna Lovegood walks through Hogwarts like she's tuned into a different frequency, and somehow she's always right. She believes in invisible creatures, conspiracy theories, and the kind of magic most people roll their eyes at. But Luna's not trying to impress anyone. She'll wear radish earrings, read upside-down magazines, and stare at ghosts like they're just waiting in line. Other students call her loony behind her back. Doesn't faze her. She's not mean, she's not defensive, she's just unbothered, which is probably why she's one of the bravest characters in the series. Luna sees things differently, not just literally, like thestrals and weird energy fields, but emotionally. She understands grief, isolation, and friendship better than most people who've had easier lives. Even under pressure, she stays calm and focused. The person you want standing next to you when everything else falls apart. She's kind without being naive, soft-spoken without being weak, the kind of person who remembers your socks at Christmas because she actually listened when you said you lost them in October. Luna Lovegood is strange, but she's the kind of strange the world needs more of. Sirius Black. Sirius Black is the cool uncle of the wizarding world, the one who shows up in a leather jacket, casually mentions he escaped prison, and then hands you a broomstick like it's no big deal. But behind that charm is a storm. He spent 12 years in Azkaban, locked up for betraying his best friends. Except he didn't. He was framed by someone he trusted, and the only thing that kept him sane was knowing the truth. No spell, no wand, just rage, grief, and a list of names. When he finally escapes, it's not freedom he wants, but instead, it's justice. And when he finds Harry, it isn't just about family, it's about trying to fix something that's long been shattered. But Sirius never really escapes the past. He walks like he's free, but everything about him says otherwise. His childhood was built on pure blood pride and cruelty. His adulthood was stolen. Now he's trapped again, this time in his own home, hiding while the world burns outside. He wants to fight, but the Order keeps him in the shadows. He's reckless, emotional, and full of ghosts. Nothing about him feels fatherly. He acts like a best friend who's terrified he'll lose another one. And in the end, that's what happens. Sirius Black didn't die in battle. He died in a moment of hope, and that's what hurts the most. Ginny Weasley. Ginny starts out quiet, the little sister tagging along, stuck in the background. Then she grows up, and suddenly everyone's trying to keep up with her. She keeps it short, but somehow always lands the last word. She's smart enough to spot trouble early, brave enough to charge at it anyway. The first time we really see her, she's getting possessed by a diary and nearly feeding her classmates to a snake the size of a school bus. Most people would need a lifelong break after that. Ginny just walks it off and joins the Quidditch team. She's got her brother's stubbornness and none of their hesitation. Jinxes boys in the hallway, talks back to teachers. The moment school starts feeling off, Ginny's the one who sneaks out with a wand and comes back with backup. People keep trying to protect Ginny. They keep stepping in front of her like she's not the one with the better aim, and by the time she's grown, Ginny's not in anyone's shadow. She's leading teams, calling plays, and leaving broom trails in people's faces. Doesn't matter if it's a school duel or a headline at the Prophet. She shows up, hits hard, and makes sure you remember her name. Rubeus Hagrid. Hagrid gives off the vibe of someone who eats rocks for breakfast. Huge coat, wild beard, hands like frying pans. But he's got the soul of a golden retriever and the parenting skills of someone who thinks a scorpion bat hybrid would make a nice class pet. He doesn't care if you're a misfit. He is one. Half giant, wand snapped in half, kicked out of school, but still shows up every day like Hogwarts is lucky to have him. And honestly, it kind of is. He teaches the worst class in the school, not because he's bad at it, but because his idea of safe includes a creature that breathes fire and judges your self-esteem. And when something inevitably escapes, Hagrid's already chasing after it, muttering about how misunderstood it is. But when real danger hits, Death Eaters, war, chaos, he's still standing. He fights, he carries the dead, he protects the kids. No wand, no spells, just loyalty so big it doesn't fit in the castle. People see him as the groundskeeper, but he's more than that. He's the guy who opens the doors, literally and metaphorically, and when the world gets dark, he's the first one to light a lantern. Bellatrix Lestrange. Bellatrix casts spells like she's starting fires just to watch them burn. She's lethal, sure, and dangerous, but it's the thrill in her eyes that makes people step back. Torture is foreplay. Murder is a mood. And if Voldemort had told her to bite through a steel door to prove her loyalty, she'd ask which tooth to start with. She isn't part of the Death Eaters because she wants power. Instead, the reason is far more simple. She just wants destruction. She wants chaos with her name carved into it. And Voldemort, he's not her leader, he's her religion, like her obsession, her one true love. In her mind, she's not a follower, she's his favorite. She tortured Neville's parents until they lost their minds, and smiled the whole time. She mocked Sirius before killing him, and she did it like she was putting on a show for no one but herself. Bellatrix treats the battlefield like a stage, and in her head, every spell is a standing ovation. Her final duel didn't feel like justice, it felt like karma showing up with a frying pan. Molly didn't win with flashy moves, she won because Bellatrix finally underestimated someone, and because deep down, she thought she was untouchable. Spoiler alert, she wasn't. Neville Longbottom. Neville shows up like the kid you expect to lose his wand before class starts. Nervous, forgetful, polite to a fault. The kind of student who thanks a bookshelf after bumping into it. Charm might earn you friends at Hogwarts, but grit is what gets you through the year. And somewhere between dodging curses and almost dying every year, Neville grows one made of steel. He's not flashy and he's not loud, but when the moment comes, he steps forward. Not because he's fearless, but because he's terrified and chooses to act anyway. That's real courage. Not robes and speeches, just showing up when it's hardest. While everyone's watching Harry, Neville's fighting his own war. His parents were tortured into silence. His legacy is pain, and still he doesn't let it define him. He waters plants, he fights Death Eaters, he forgets passwords, and when the world needs a hero, he cuts the snake's head off without flinching. Neville didn't get chosen by fate, he got there the hard way. One mistake, one bruise, one stand at a time. And by the end, the fear's still there. He just stops letting it win, and when he draws that sword, no one's laughing anymore. Remus Lupin. Lupin looks like the teacher who'd apologize for giving you homework, but under the cardigan is a war veteran who's been fighting his own body since childhood. Every day he wakes up knowing he's a risk to the people he cares about, and shows up anyway. He doesn't talk big, he doesn't posture, but when things go bad, he's already moving. He teaches it like a man who's seen what the monsters can really do. Dueling like he's protecting someone who doesn't even know it. He knows what people whisper about werewolves. He's part werewolf, and most people treat that like a warning sign, so he spends his life proving he's safe. He's the kind of man who stays out of the photo, but if there's danger in the room, he's between you and it. Quiet doesn't mean weak, it means he's learned to live with noise on the inside. Remus never wanted to be a hero, he just didn't want to be a monster. But somehow he ended up being both, and neither in the best possible way.